Yo, it's boy Marcus Morrison back with another video, and today we're going to be talking about, is COD Mobile a military game? And like this whole thing, I used to read a lot of the comments and like COD Mobile Instagram posts, and one of the common things is like people were like, this game used to be like a military game, you know what I mean? And they were like, all these skins have gotten out of hand, this, that, and the other, and it's a popular thing on console. But man, this has been a theme in COD Mobile pretty much since it came out. I mean, from the very first Outrider Dia de los Muertos skin, pretty much from that point on forward. You know what I mean? Like, inherently, a lot of these gun skins and like things are not really, you know what I mean? They're not like actual military themed. You know what I mean? Military uses like, I don't know, the camo that you get for 10 headshots. That's the camo that the military would use. You know what I mean? Like, none of these camos are really, like, that relatable. And the whole military issue, I guess, like, it just doesn't make sense, right? So COD Mobile, Call of Duty in general, it just isn't a military-themed game like that anymore. It really isn't. And it really wasn't after, like, I don't know, the first 4 Call of Duties. After that, it hasn't been that in forever. You know what I mean? It's just... that's not what it is anymore. At this point in time, it's way more towards the arcade shooter, which is what it's pretty much been known as for most of its existence. And I know as you're wondering, what's an arcade shooter? It's just like a fun FPS shooting game. Like, that's what COD is, and that's what it's been for a while, and that's what made it popular, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? I don't know why people want it to be so military themed, right? If you wanted like a more realistic military style game, there's so many other games you could go play. You know what I mean? So like, if you're on like a PC or a console or something like maybe Rainbow Six or like Escape from Tarkov, you know what I mean? There's a lot of games on that side of things where it's way more geared towards like a realistic scenario. I'm sure there's simulation games where it's like actually meant to be more like your player is always tired or whatever the case may be. Your aim sway is like crazy and things like that, where it's more like, hey, that's actually how it would be. You know what I mean? Whereas combo, we don't have none of that. You know what I mean? Like, that's not really how it works. There's perks for stuff like that. You know what I mean? You don't have perks and like, you know what I mean? I don't have persistence. That's not a real thing. So, I just don't agree with the sentiment that COD Mobile used to be a military game, like back when it came out. It's never been that. It's always been an arcade shooter. Sure, there was less of what we have now at one point, right? It was less like mythics, you know what I mean? Like these crazy gun skins or these crazy character skins, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, Sophia and Templar and Spectre and these crazy mythic skins where they're like insane looking, and then we got Gundam collabs and stuff. You know what I mean? Like, that wasn't the case for a long time. We didn't have any of that. But that's not really what COD is, right? It's become, an arcade shooter, and that's what Call of Duty is. And that's fine. I actually prefer it that way. You know what I mean? I prefer sort of a military-esque style, I guess, but when you have like more opportunity to like branch off of that, right? It's like my favorite. This game, COD Mobile, was modeled after one of my favorite console games, which is BO4. You know what I mean? Which is set in like the future. I'm sure Specialist isn't something that we have present now. Like, we can't have, I don't know, name a Specialist gun. Like, heck, Misdirection is what I'm using in this game. That's not you can't have that. What the hell is that? You know what I mean? Essentially, the Purifier's a flamethrower. You know what I mean? So that's like, somewhat feasible. But the claw isn't really like, that's not like a real thing. You know what I mean? So it's just never really been like a military style game in COD Mobile, right? It's never really been that way because it's modeled after a game that's set. It's 2025. I think BO4 was set in 2035. You know what I mean? So it's not modeled after that. This game's modeled after the future, and the future is whatever you really want it to be. You know what I mean? Like, you can make it whatever. Right? They could have made BO4 a jetpack game and then modeled it after that, and we'd be playing jetpacks. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. I don't agree with the sentiment. I bet you there's probably people watching this now that think like it's used to be a military theme game. And you could say, there was less like brightly colored stuff or something like that. I don't know. But like these maps aren't necessarily in like military themed places a lot of the time, you know what I mean? Especially on the console side. I mean, we were playing like Micro, and BO3 was like on a picnic table, you know what I mean? And we were shrunken down. There was a map in World War II, I think, where we were in a sandbox and we were shrunk down and we were all like little toy soldiers running around. So like it's never been that kind of thing. There was always that opportunity for a little more creativity, and that's what we want, right? You want a little bit more creative. You want to have fun. That's the whole reason we're playing, is to have fun, right? And that kind of thing can be fun. So like, why not have it be that way? That's just kind of what I think. I think sticking too much towards a military theme and keeping it all just greens, browns, grays, that color palette of like a dark, dreary color, that sucks. You know what I mean? Like CODs that we have had that have been that way, like World War II, for example, it sucked. It sucked to looking at that, right? COD Mobile is a beautiful, bright game that just, it's beautiful. You know what I mean? It's got a lot of bright colors. It's shiny. It's fun to play. You know what I mean? That's a way better, I guess, art style to sort of follow behind than to be, you know, dull and boring and ugly. You know what I mean? Like I said, with the browns and grays, you know, that's not a color palette you necessarily want. Now, other people might want that, but like, that's not fun to have forever. You know what I mean? I hate it personally. I would never want it. So I can't really agree with that sentiment of that being like what you would want or anything like that. I would never want that personally. That's just how I look at it. With that being said, let me know your thoughts on what you think. You know, was COD Mobile ever a military game to you? As if you were someone that played on console, right? Because you got two different types of people, right? You got either people who played console before and people who just started playing COD Mobile. And there's two totally different experiences, right? Because if you have the experience of having played on console, you know what the previous however many CODs that you played on console were like. Whether it was the Advanced Warfare, you know, Jetpack COD era where it's super futuristic, or before that, back in the day, like World at War, when it was like everything's fucking brown. You know what I mean? Like there was no movement. You know what I mean? It was just aim down sight and run, and that was it. You know what I mean? So that was the whole game. So I don't know. I feel like there's certain experiences where that could be the case, but with COD Mobile, you know, we have the same movement, and it's been like this for 5 years. There's not a new yearly title coming out on a mobile device. You know what I mean? Where it's like now we're back to boots on the ground, and there's no sliding or anything, right? There's jetpacks or whatever. So I don't know. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below on this whole CoDm used to be a military game. I don't know what it is. Stance that people have, I guess. And what you think about it. Thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. A little last second capture from your boy to win that game. Class setup, I don't even know. I just use whatever. Probably seen it. I kind of use the same classes anyway. But yeah, it's been your boy Marcus Tomorsini. I'm out of here. 35-14. Peace.